Crochet a house Christmas ornament with me. Hi there, I'm Cilla from Cilla Crochets, and I'm here to cheer you on throughout your crochet journey, no matter what stage you're at. In this video, I'm going to show you how to crochet this little house Christmas ornament. Make sure you check that description below because there's some important links, and also there are timestamps so you can skip to any part of this video that you need. If you do end up making this little house Christmas ornament, I'd really love to see your makes. All you need to do is post a photo on social and tag me at Cilla Crochets. Now, without further ado, let me show you what you need to make this little ornament. Alright, so the materials you'll need to make this house decoration are firstly some yarn. You'll need some DK yarn. In the original pattern, I've used 3 colours. I've used berry, blue and gold. The berry and the blue is Rikurumi DK, it's cotton yarn, and then this really sparkly gold yarn is Rikurumi Lame. In today's video, I am going to be mixing up the yarn colours a little bit though. I'm going to use Rikurumi Spray DK. It's in this grey and white speckled colour. I'm going to use some of this hot pink scrap acrylic yarn. That one there is Signet DK. You'll also need a crochet hook. I'm using a 2.5mm Clover or More crochet hook. If you're in the US, you can use a C as an alternative. That's a 2.75mm crochet hook. The main thing I'd say is just make sure you're using a smaller crochet hook than what your yarn label recommends, just so the stuffing doesn't come through your stitches and those stitches are super tight. You will also need a tapestry needle, some scissors, a stitch marker to keep track of your stitches, and you'll need some stuffing. Now, the stuffing is kind of optional. If you're following along the full tutorial and you're making your house into a 3D shape like mine is here, you'll need the stuffing. However, you can opt to make a 2D decoration. So the way this is constructed is we're creating one flat shape of the house, a second flat shape of the house. We're making this extra detail as well that's going on the front only. But what you could do is instead of making 2 houses, you could just make one, the window and the door, and then just crochet around the one flat piece, making it a flat decoration. If you do that, you obviously don't need the stuffing. However, if you are following along the full tutorial, you will need the stuffing. So as an option, you can also use some sewing pins if you are making the 3D shape. And they can be used basically to pin the pieces together as you're crocheting around the edge. In today's pattern, I will be using US terminology. Just something to be aware of in case you're used to using UK terms. I am using US terms. The stitches you'll need to make this pattern include a single crochet, a chain, a slip stitch, and you'll also need to know how to increase and decrease. It is a pretty easy pattern overall, so please don't be turned off if you're fairly new to crochet. You'll be able to handle this, especially because I'll be showing you how to do everything each step of the way. You'll be fine. Alright, let's get started. Just to explain the way that we're going to crochet this house, what we'll do is we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up in the colour that you want the main house to be. So this is berry in the original pattern. Then we will fasten off, attach new yarn to the roof, and then we crochet back and forth like this, and we actually work in that chimney as we're crocheting back and forth. If you're going to make a 3D decoration like this one I have here, you will have to make 2 of those flat pieces exactly the same so we can put them together and then crochet around the edge. For the final touch, we crochet a window and a door, and then we sew those on before we actually assemble the 3D shape. And I am using this spray Rikurumi yarn. We'll start by doing a slip knot and chaining 17. Alright, so that's my 17 chains. For row 1, we start in the second chain from our hook. So that is not this one up here, but just underneath it. And we will crochet 1 single crochet in each chain until we get to the bottom. So that is 16 single crochet. We'll then chain 1 and turn. So let's go on and do that now. Alright, so just check that you've got 16 single crochets. We do, we're all good, so let's chain 1 and turn, and that is the end of row 1. Now for row 2, all the way to row 14, all we are doing is single crocheting across this row, chaining 1 and then turning our work. So that is 1 single crochet in each of these stitches across the row. So that is 16 single crochet across, chain 1 and turn, and we're doing that for the next 13 rows. So let's do row 2 together now. That's our first single crochet, our second single crochet, third single crochet in the next stitch, fourth single crochet, and just keep doing this until you get to the end of the row with 16 single crochet. So that was our last single crochet in row 2. We then just want to chain and turn. Now we're going to repeat that 12 more times until we get to the end of row 14, and then I will meet you back here. So let's go on and do that ourselves. 16 single crochet across, chain 1, turn, until you get to the end of row 14, and I will see you back here. Alright, now we've finished our 14th row, we've chained 1 and we've turned, so we're going to start crocheting in the other direction for row 15. Before we start row 15, I just want to show you where we're up to. The rows we're about to start crocheting, so starting from row 15, are creating this A-frame in the house, so the little triangle shape we see at the top. Alright, let's go on to row 15. In row 15, we're going to do a decrease, then 12 single crochet and a decrease at the end, and then we'll chain 1 and turn. So let's start with the decrease, then go on and crochet 12 single crochet, 1 single crochet in the next 12 stitches. That's our 12th single crochet. Then we will do a decrease at the end, chain 1 and turn. For row 16, we're just doing a single crochet across, so that will be 14 single crochet in total. Then we'll chain 1 and turn our work. Now we'll chain 1 and turn our work. For row 17, we'll do a decrease, then 10 single crochet and a decrease at the end, chain 1 and turn. So we'll start with the decrease, then we'll do 10 single crochet, then we'll do another decrease, chain 1 and turn. For row 18, we're doing a single crochet across, so that is 12 single crochet in total. Then we'll chain 1 and turn at the end of the row. For row 19, we'll do a decrease, then 8 single crochet in the middle and a decrease at the end. We'll then chain 1 and turn. So let's start by doing that decrease. And now we'll go on to do 8 single crochet. We'll end with a decrease. And then chain 1 and turn your work. For row 20, we just single crochet across, so that is 10 single crochets in total. Then we'll chain 1 and turn our work. Now we're on to row 21. We'll decrease, do 6 single crochet in the middle and a decrease at the end. So let's do the decrease now. Then it's 6 single crochet in the middle. Then another decrease at the end. Chain 1 and turn your work. For row 22, we're going to do 8 single crochet. Then you'll chain 1 and turn. For row 23, we do a decrease, then 4 single crochet in the middle and a decrease at the end. Chain 1 and turn your work. For row 24, we do 6 single crochet, then we'll chain 1 and turn. Now for row 25, we'll do a decrease, 2 single crochet in the middle and a decrease at the end. So let's go ahead and do the decrease first, then 2 single crochet in those middle 2 stitches, 1 single crochet in each stitch, end with a decrease, and then we'll chain 1 and turn our work. For row 26, we're going to do 2 decreases. So that's our first decrease we're doing now. Now here's our second decrease. We'll chain 1 and turn. And for row 27, we do a final decrease. So that's just 1 decrease. And there is no chaining 1 and turning our work at this point because this is the end of the piece. So all we do is cut our yarn and fasten off by yarning over, pulling through, and then pulling on that yarn tail to create that nice little knot there in the end of our work. Now I am going to use this pink color for the roof. So what we'll do is we'll attach the new yarn to the side of the roof and we'll start to crochet back and forth in rows around the triangle to create this roof shape, as well as the chimney shape there. From here, insert your hook between row 13 and 14. So that will be here. You can quickly check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And that is 14. So this is where we want to attach the yarn. It's essentially where that triangle shape started to be crocheted. So to attach the yarn, we just do a chain stitch and that secures it nicely onto the other piece. And now we're going to crochet along this triangle for 13 single crochet stitches. So it's roughly 1 single crochet in each row. Okay, and we're just doing our 13th single crochet now. Now in this very top stitch, we want to do 3 single crochet into the 1 stitch. And that just helps us move around this shape a little bit easier. Now we're going to work back down the other side of the roof for another 13 single crochet. Let's go ahead and do that now. Okay, now we're coming up to our 13th single crochet here. There we go. To finish row 28, we're just going to chain one and turn. And in row 29, we're going to start with an increase in this first stitch. Then we'll crochet 12 single crochet. So that's just one single crochet in the next 12 stitches. Then we'll do an increase. Then a single crochet, and then an increase. Then 12 single crochet, and an increase in the last pink stitch. It's our 12th single crochet, then we're just doing an increase in that last stitch there. Now we chain one and turn our work. For row 30, we do an increase in that first stitch, then we're going to do 15 single crochet. So that's our increase done. Then let's do our 15 single crochet. Now that's our 15th single crochet. Then we do an increase in this middle stitch. And we go on to do another 15 single crochet down the other side. Now that is our 15th single crochet. We just need to do an increase in that last stitch. And then we chain one and turn. For row 31, we're doing an increase in that first stitch. Then we're doing 16 single crochet. Now we're going to do two increases, so an increase in this next stitch and then another increase in the stitch after that. Then we'll continue on with a single crochet in the next 16 stitches. Now this is our 16th single crochet, and we end with an increase in that final stitch. Can be a little bit hard to find, so don't let it escape. There we go, there's our increase. Then we chain one and turn to end that row. Now in the next row, it is important to pay quite a bit of attention because we will be crocheting this chimney as we go around. So after turning our work, row 32 starts with an increase. So that's an increase in that first stitch. Then we're going to single crochet 8 times. So one single crochet in the next 8 stitches. That's our 8 single crochet. Now at this point we're going to start to make the chimney. So we're going to chain one and turn, and then we will single crochet into that stitch once. So just one single crochet, and then we're going to chain one and turn our work again. Then we're going to do one single crochet into the chimney stitch that we've just made. Okay, and then we'll crochet a single crochet into the roof, and we'll do that for the next 2 stitches. So that's 1 single crochet on the roof, then we'll go to the next stitch on the roof and do a 2nd single crochet. Then you want to chain 1 and turn. We're going to skip the first stitch there and go into the next 2 stitches with 1 single crochet. So we're just trying to do 2 single crochet, just like that. We're going to chain 1 and turn. Then we'll do 2 single crochet into the chimney stitches. So that's 1 there and 1 here. Okay. And then we're going to do 1 single crochet into the next stitch on the roof. So that is our single crochet into the next stitch on the roof. Then we'll chain 1 and turn again. And now we want to do 3 single crochet. So that's just going back into those stitches we've just made, which is quite straightforward. So that's 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, 3 single crochet. Then we chain 1 and turn our work. Now we're going to do another 3 single crochet. So just straight back into those stitches. 1, 2, almost 3. You can see our chimney forming here. Now we want to chain 1, and then we want to actually crochet down the side here of the chimney, and we're going to do that with 2 single crochet. So you're going into the side of the rows. That's 1 single crochet. Then we want another single crochet in that chimney row, like that. And then we're going to slip stitch into that same stitch of the roof that we were in just before, like that. And that is our little chimney created. So now we're just going to continue to crochet around the roof. So we've got 7 more single crochet on the roof. That's our 7 single crochet. Then we'll do 2 increases and our 2nd increase. So after our 2 increases, we're going to do 18 single crochet down the other side of the roof. And then we do an increase in that very last stitch. Alright, and now we are ready to cut our yarn and fasten off. So let's cut that yarn, fasten off by yarning over and pulling through. And that is our first little house shape completed. Now that you've finished your little house, if you're going to make a 3D decoration like this one here, where there's stuffing in the middle, you will need to go back and repeat these steps to make a second house. You can, of course, just make a 2D house, and that is ignore making a second piece, ignore having to stuff it, and just crochet around the edge of your one piece. And then we will, of course, be doing the door and the window shortly. But to start with, if you're doing the 3D decoration like I am, go back and make your second house shape. In preparation for sewing, it is going to be a lot easier if these yarn tails are sewn in. So I'm going to do that quickly now, and I will meet you back here when the yarn tails are all sewn into our house shapes. Now that we've sewn in our yarn tails, we're going to go on and crochet the door and the window. We'll start off with the door. We only make one door and one window, I'm sure you'll be pleased to know. And then what we do is we sew it onto one of these pieces before we do the assembly and attach the two together. So let's go on and make the door now. To start the door, we chain 7. So we start with a slip stitch, and then chain 7. That's our 7 chain there. For row 1, we start in the second chain from our hook, so not that one there, but the one just below it, and we're just going to single crochet across, so that will be 6 single crochet in total, and then we chain 1 and we turn. Chain 1 and turn. For row 2, we're single crocheting across again, chaining 1 and turning, and we repeat that until we get to the end of row 8. So we're doing the next 7 rows of 6 single crochet across, chain 1 and turn. So let's go on and do that, and I'll meet you back here towards the end of row 8. This is us coming to the end of row 8 now. We will chain 1 and turn. So for row 9, we're going to decrease, then we'll do 2 single crochet in the middle and a decrease at the end, and we'll chain 1 and turn. So let's start with that decrease, then we do 2 single crochet, and then we do a decrease at the end of the row. And then we chain 1 and turn. Now for row 10, we do 2 decreases. So first decrease, done, second decrease. That is great. We don't do a chain and turn at the end because this is our last row. Now at this point we want to cut our yarn and leave a longer yarn tail for sewing, enough to be able to sew this door to one of the house shapes. So for me, I'm going to leave about 30 centimeters. It's probably longer than I need, but I want it to be longer rather than shorter than what I need. Okay, and that is the door done. Now we need to go on to crochet the window. To start the window, we do a chain of 5. So we start with a slip knot and then we chain 5. That's our chain of 5 done. So for row 1, we start in the second chain from our hook. So that's the first chain, that is the second one, and we just single crochet along the chain. So that is 4 single crochet across, and then we chain 1 and turn. So let's do that now. That's our 4th single crochet. We chain 1 and turn. So for row 2 and 3, we just do the same thing. We just do 4 single crochet across, chain 1 and turn. So we do that for row 3 and row 4. Let's go ahead and do that now. So we chain 1 and turn. Going on to row 4, we're just doing 4 single crochet across, and that is all. There's no chain at the end of this one because it's our last row of the window. That is our window done. So cut a yarn tail, again long enough to sew around the edge of this window and attach it to the house. And then we will fasten off by yarning over and pulling through like that. And now all that's left to do is actually sew the window and the door to one of your house pieces. So decide which one of your house pieces you want to be the front. I'm going to choose this one here. So now you'll need your tapestry needle. Firstly, you want to weave in that starting yarn tail of both the door and the window. So let's weave in our starting tails. So now you can use some pins if you like to pin your window and your door in place on the house so you can map out where you want them. I'm not going to use pins, but this is just to give you some idea of placement. And now all you're going to do is use your tapestry needle to sew the door in place on the house and to sew the window in place on the house. So I'm going to do the door first and then I'll do the window, and I'll meet you back here once we've sewn those pieces onto our house. Alright, and that is the door and window sewn to our piece. Now it's ready to assemble the house decoration and crochet around the pieces. As we crochet around the piece, we will also stuff the house as we go. Okay, so I'm going to use the pink yarn to go around the edge of my house. So first we'll put the shape together like this. We're going to attach our yarn right next to where we want the hanging loop. So in this decoration, I have it right at the top. I'm aiming for the same here. So basically I want the hanging loop to go just above that stitch. So I will go to the stitch just to the left of where I want the hanging loop to be. I'll stick my crochet hook into there, and that is where I'm going to attach the yarn. So just grab your yarn, pull that through the stitch, and then you'll do a chain to attach the yarn to the shape. Now in essence, all we are doing is crocheting single crochet stitches all around this shape to join the two shapes together. And then when we get back up to the top, we will do a chain to create a hanging loop. The only exception to the single crochets is where there are corners in this shape. So a corner would be this bit that sticks out at the roof, the bits at the bottom of the house, and also these corners at the top of the chimney, and that one there obviously for the roof as well. So in those corner stitches that I've just pointed out, you will do 3 single crochet in the corner stitch. So that's 3 single crochet in each of the corners. That just helps us move around the shape a little bit smoother. The other thing to point out just before we get started is you can use some pins to hold these two pieces together if you find that helpful. We will have to take them out partway through when we start to add stuffing, which will probably be around about here when we've crocheted all the way around to about here. Let's start with our single crochet stitches and we will meet back here to add some stuffing to our shape. Alright, now we're at that corner stitch. We want to add 3 single crochet into the corner, and that just helps us move around this corner of the roof. Now at around about this point, you'll want to stop and start adding some stuffing into the shape, and that's just to ensure we can actually get the stuffing down the bottom of the shape. So let's do that now. We'll break up some of the stuffing and then pop it into the bottom of the house. We'll continue to crochet now, but we'll stop along the way to continue adding stuffing to the piece. Now in this corner of the chimney, we want to add 3 single crochet. And then another 3 single crochet in the other corner of the chimney. Now you'll most likely want to add some extra stuffing here so you can actually fit some in the chimney as well. Now as we come to this last single crochet to join the houses together, we're now going to do a chain, which will be our hanging loop. For my hanging loop, I crochet 20 chains. If you'd like a longer loop, just add some more chains, or if you'd like a shorter loop, just add less. But I'm going to go ahead now and crochet 20 chains. Okay, there's our 20 chain stitches. So now I'm going to insert my crochet hook into the same stitch where I started that chain from, and I'm going to do another single crochet. There we go. And to finish off, I will do a slip stitch to the very first single crochet in that round. And from here, just cut your yarn, fasten off by yarning over, pulling through and pulling that tight to create a knot. Now, hopefully you've left a tiny bit of a yarn tail at the end because we're going to use it to sew the 2 bottom chains together, just so that pinches nicely and it looks like more of a pointed triangle at the top of the house. So we just sew into those bottom chains. There we go. So that pinches the bottom of the loop nicely. And now we're just going to sew in our ends and we will be done. So let's go on and do that now. And there you have it, your little house Christmas ornament. And now you should have your very own little house Christmas ornament. I really hope this tutorial has been helpful and you've been able to follow along all okay. If you have any feedback or thoughts for me, please do drop a comment below. I'd really love to hear from you. As always, if you've enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos from me, please do hit subscribe and turn the little bell on so you get notified when any new videos are released. Until next time, happy crocheting!